everyone. The magic of menopause. I know everyone's kind of wondering what I'm going to talk about, so I just wanted to start with, did you know that businesses that are owned and led by women actually perform twice as well as businesses that are owned and led by men? That's real. And also that menopausal women are actually the fastest growing demographic in the workforce today. That's happening right now. So that's not what we hear in the media at all, actually. We're told that there's going to be hot flashes, we're going to be irritable, we're not going to sleep, we're going to gain weight. I don't need to tell you. So this is what we constantly are fed. And yes, it is a big transition. When we go into puberty, that's about 14, 12 years in one state, and then you are bathed in estrogen for the next 30 to 40 years. And then you don't have estrogen. Estrogen has over about 100 different receptor sites in our bodies. It affects everything. So it affects our brains, it affects our lungs, our gastrointestinal, everything. And so when it changes, it's a big metamorphosis. So I kind of think of it as a butterfly. I mean, we really are. What happens when you go through a metamorphosis? There's change, and it can be hard, but it's also wisdom. You have so much wisdom when you're going to go into this next phase. And so when you are going through this change, it will be different. It's going to have some stumbles and some roadblocks. And we do need support. And right now, the standard of care that we are offered is hormone replacement, antidepressants, and anti-seizure medications. And those are helpful, and they can serve as a bridge to get us to the other side, but they do come with a lot of side effects. And I'm here to talk about the real reasons of what's actually going on with this tectonic shift in estrogen, and also the three main things that we can do that I share with all of my patients. For the last 16 years, I've been working with menopausal women, and these are the three things that I really believe in, and I know that they can really help you. I'm gonna give those to you today, and they're pretty incredible. So I just wanted to say thank you to Maria Lasula, and just thank you to everyone for coming and empowering yourselves with all this information, because that's how we change the world. And I think that this theme of the conference, the power of changing, the power of women changing and shifting the world, has everything to do with menopause. And this is what we're doing because we have so much wisdom now. So I just wanted to be a little vulnerable with you first and to give you a little background of who I am. Even though I do actually own two clinics internationally. I own one in San Francisco, California, and then I own the first naturopathic clinic in Scotland, in Edinburgh. 25 years ago, I had no idea what naturopathic medicine was. I was raised by a single mom, and she was leading the Democratic Party for the state of California, and she was doing their campaigns, and so I was watching her, and I thought, well, that's how I'm going to change the world. I want to change the world. I knew that. And so I thought, well, I got it in my head, I'm going to be a diplomat, and I'm going to be in the Foreign Service. And I went to school. I went to University of California. I studied political science, international relations, cultural anthropology. I even learned Italian so I could go to the University of Padova, because that's where you go to study political science. And I was on this whole road, and I was going to do it. And I got into Georgetown, and then the month before I graduated with political science, I was at a party, and this woman came over to me, and she said, "What's going on with your skin?" Because my whole life, I had been living with horrible eczema. I would bleed through my clothes. This was not unusual, and she saw it, but I thought I had done everything, and I'd been to all the doctors, and I'd gotten all the creams and all the medications, and basically nothing helped. So she said, "Well, have you, tried, meditation? Have you tried changing your diet? Have you exercised?" I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy. No, I don't know." And so she's, I listened to her for a couple hours, and then I did everything she said, and then I started getting better for the first time in my life. I was about 23 at that time, and it was astounding to me. And so graduated with political science and all the things, and then I thought, well, I had to come to Jesus moment. I had to think, well, this is what actually healed me. And so then I decided I will be a doctor, and then I had to figure out, okay, what kind of doctor? And then it was a naturopathic doctor. And my family thought I was crazy. Obviously, they're all in politics, and this is not. But it's very political to be a naturopath, too, because you're choosing a whole different path. This is a whole different way of seeing things. And it really is looking at root cause. So that's what we're doing. And so, anyway, I became a naturopathic doctor, also a home birth midwife, and I basically use this information now to help women from all different walks of life. And my first job out of naturopathic medical school was working for this big primary care group in San Francisco called One Medical. It's a GP practice, and they wanted me to come in and teach their doctors about natural medicine, and also how can they help women really with menopause, because the only thing they could offer them up until this time was the birth control pill. But they knew they can't keep giving women that are 45 and up. It's actually contraindicated. So they were like, well, what do we do? So let's bring April in, because maybe she'll have something. So I started teaching them about adrenal health and the gut microbiome and the neurotransmitter levels and how you can actually support them and nourish them. And so it was like this whole game changer. And people always ask me, well, what is the one thing, that changed my life or that changes women's lives? And it's never just one thing. It is a whole host of things, because we're multifaceted. And really, each woman is really unique. So it really does take an individual approach for every single person. But what happens in menopause is that, what I've learned is that your adrenal glands, which normally help you deal with stress, and they secrete the hormone cortisol, they actually take over the production from the ovaries of estrogen and progesterone and testosterone. And so a lot of times we come to this period of our life and we're very adrenally dysregulated. And so we might be feeling a little more tired. And so when you come to menopause in this shift and you're expecting your adrenals to take over, then they can't really do all the heavy lifting that we want them to do. And so you end up feeling a little more estrogen deficient because of that, if that makes sense. You guys following me? Okay. And so the real reasons of what's happening when we come to menopause is that it's going to be very unique for each person. There's going to be maybe adrenal dysregulation. People call it adrenal fatigue, but I don't really like that, because it's usually cortisol is very high. You might have histamine issues. This is a big reason. If you're starting to get rashes or a runny nose or thicker mucus, maybe you start snoring. This is a histamine problem. The liver could be inflamed. You might have an imbalance of your epinephrine, norepinephrine. You might have an imbalance of your estrobolome, which is actually, there's a whole microbiome in your gut that actually is in charge of secreting estrogen. And that's called the estrobolome. You might have metals in your body, and those metals can actually mimic estrogen. They're called metalloestrogens. And so you might think, oh, that's a good thing, because then you have more estrogen, but it actually can be more inflammatory. So there's a lot of things that are going on here that just by giving you hormones and an antidepressant and an anti-seizure medicine is not really gonna do it. It's gonna help, but after a while, it might not. So the three main things that I want to share with you that I really think are very important are sugar, stress, sleep. So I know everyone's like the mnemonics, and I really like them too. So 3 S's. So sugar, everyone knows it's not good for us, right? But the reason I'm going to share with you that sugar, I want you to think about it this way. So we have 2 brains in our body, okay? Everyone always talks about the one in our head, but there's actually one in our gut. So when we form embryologically, we're formed, actually, our brain starts in our intestines, in our stomach. And it's a web of neurons that line our intestines. And they communicate up through your spine to your brain, through this vagus nerve. And it sends a message, but it's not always very exact. So it might just be anxiety. It might be, I can't think. And so we know that sugar produces inflammation, especially in the gut. It does. I'm sorry, but it does. So that's sugar across the board. And when you get sugar, you're going to get inflammation. And that's going to give you a signal of something's wrong. So it might just be that you're having anxiety because you've had sugar and it's too much. So kind of think about it that way. So it's just another piece to motivate you to step away from sugar. So no sugar in your tea. I know here, everyone puts a lot of sugar in everything. This is the land of, biscuits and tea, but it's, they just haven't really got the memo, but it's sugar actually has a big impact on our mental health. And then the next two, stress and sleep, are what I call non-negotiables. So when you are in the menopausal brain, we know that you're going to have a bigger impact with cortisol. Cortisol is going to affect our brains more. That means, so when you get hit with stress, it's going to be like, whoa. So you have to know to put in place more self-care measures. So you have to, non-negotiable, you have to meditate every day. You have to do something that helps you, exercise. You have to spend time with your friends. You have to get that, because when we spend time with friends, we get oxytocin. That's another one. Oxytocin is one of the big reasons we have these menopausal issues. And the other one is sleep. So definitely that's a non-negotiable. We definitely need 7 hours of sleep in the menopausal brain. We know we do much better. So just put in practices. You need blackout curtains. You need to stop screens at 2 hours before. You need to stop caffeine at 3 p.m. So these are all just try to think about those. I know I'm not asking easy things, but this is actually, it's going to make huge lifelong changes so that you can go on and thrive. And to give you an example of how this all works, I wanted to share a case with you. About 6 months ago, I just opened my clinic in Edinburgh about a year ago, and this woman came to me about 6 months ago. She's 57 right now, and when she was 53, she was having all these issues, and she was hot flashing, couldn't sleep, insomnia, really irritable. Her doctor said, I have the solution. You're going to take estrogen, Prozac, gabapentin. So she got on them. She started feeling better for about a year. And then all of a sudden, she started developing rashes. She starts getting horrible. And this is not uncommon. I see this a lot. Usually the rashes will come, and this is a sign that there's too much histamine. And she didn't know what was going on. They sent her to dermatologists. She's been to 10 doctors. She finally comes to me. And then, first of all, I do her genetic makeup. Turns out she should not be on estrogen, and we need to start weaning her off. And actually, oral estrogen is very inflammatory. It actually converts into a very inflammatory estrogen. No woman should be on oral estrogen. If there's one takeaway that you take from this, please do not do that. So then we transitioned her to a transdermal, so a patch, on our way to coming off. And then we started helping her whole microbiome. We found out that her thyroid was low, and that all of her nutrients were low, her vitamin D, her B12. And so all of these things were contributing to all of the things that were going on for her. So we just started chipping away, putting back the layers. She's on different nutrients now. This is 6 months later. She's off all the medications, and she's feeling amazing. Her skin is amazing now. So it takes time and it takes commitment, but it's actually looking at what's going on underneath. And I really believe we can all thrive and just change the world this way. But I think we really need to start talking about these issues more, because this is how we're going to get better. It's not going to be just from putting another antidepressant on it, another anti-seizure med. And I'm not vilifying those. I think, if anyone's on those, that's fine, kudos. It's just that consider what's going on underneath and looking at what is causing that inflammation, so that you can live to be very strong. And I just wanted to leave you with that if you are living today and you're 45 and older, statistically, you have very healthy, very determined, you come from very strong genes. And that's very exciting. So know that. That's already in your court. So that's happening. And I just want everyone to thrive and just the next 50 years to be even better, because you have all of this wisdom. And now this is the time to really drop in. And so I wanted to leave you with just offering the gift that was given to me 25 years ago of a naturopathic free consultation. So if anyone's interested in learning more, and if you have any questions about this, please come talk to me. My website is solsticecenter.co.uk, and I work internationally around the world. But if you're in Scotland, you can come see me, and I'd love to talk to you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. April Brake.